Secretariat in Abuja amid tough battle for the soul of the party. Plus, PDP aspirant heads to court, seeks to stop Governor Godwin Obaseki from participating in the Edo governorship primaries. And later on the show, federal government summons Ghanaian envoy over demolition of High Commissioner's residence. I'll be hanging out today with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mojid Jamiu, who joins us via Skype. Gentlemen, good evening. BK, it's good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you so much for having us.
Mojid Jamiu, thank you for joining us. From the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu. Now, following the action by the police, members of the APC National Working Committee were stopped from gaining entry into the complex. The party has been embroiled in leadership crisis following a Court of Appeal order upholding the suspension of Adams Oshomole as the national chairman of the party. And that is how we begin the program this evening. BKO, what do you make of this development? Just when you feel you know, all of that has happened, and now we're looking at this involvement of the police. Are you surprised by the turnout?
I'm surprised, but I can't blame the IG for taking the decision, because some people had gone to that place to protest, and if the protests continue, some of them could get violent, and it's just similar to what happened the last time. The IG moved quickly to avoid possible breakdown of law and order. You know, politicians do not restrain themselves when using the people. I won't be surprised some politicians told their supporters to go and set the place ablaze. And then at that point, we will blame the police for not moving quickly, for not responding to the threats to peace, you know. So the IG felt the best thing to do, in the light of the conflicting rulings of courts, that the party leaders and party members are brandishing, that the best thing to do was to shut the secretariat while he will have a meeting with the leaders of the party. I do not expect this to go on for so long. Most likely there will be a resolution of the impasse which will allow the National Secretariat to continue to function, because if the National Secretariat doesn't function, who then would work on the candidacy of the party as it concerns the Edo election or the Ondo election? The Secretariat must function.
Take decisions.
Yes, it must continue to function. So I'm sure there will be some resolution at the end of the day, but for now, the IG has seen reason to meet with the party leaders, and I'm sure he will tell them that he wants peace to reign.
Let's get to know what Mojid Jamiu, who joins us via Skype. Mojid, what do you make of this sealing of the National Secretariat of the APC? So the IGP is saying just to mitigate against any breakdown of law and order. Is that how you see it?
Yes, there has been a very serious problem between several camps within the APC of recent, where we have Giadume claiming that Victor Giadom, claiming to be the chairman of the party, while the end of this ratified ailing Governor Ajimobi of the former governor of Oyo State, as the acting chairman after the court ruling. Now, today, two different groups emerged at the headquarters of the APC, and the IG cannot allow law and order to break down. So he directed the Commissioner of Police in charge of Abuja to seal up the place and invited the different camps to come forward with the authorities they have to lay claim to the chairmanship or to the headquarters of the party. So as we speak, the meeting is still going on with the IG. He has invited the contending partners in the disputes for the soul of APC. And also recall that yesterday the governors had a meeting with the president, seeking a resolution to the crisis rocking the party. The outcome of that we are yet to know, but as we speak, the IG of police is still meeting with the contending, the two major contenders in the APC crisis at the headquarters of the police in Abuja.
BKO, looking at all these contenders for the national chairmanship of the party, and now that, as you both have rightly said, the IGP would naturally want to meet with all these people and to know, but then many of these people are claimed to be backed by the law. Many of them have gone to court and are using this intervention of the courts now as validation for their claims.
Yes.
For you, what is the correct position? How do we wade through all these murky waters now and arrive at what is best for the party?
I think this whole period has shown the APC to be a rudderless party, a party where people are fighting against one another, just like the kind of battles that you see at the Kruger National Park in South Africa between hyenas and lions. Everyone pulling in different directions. We've seen clearly that there is a big contest for power within the party, and these individuals are not ready to even forgive one another. They will prefer the party to die, during their time, than allow for peaceful resolution of these outstanding issues. And to show you that, yes, indeed, many individuals in the party lack discipline, are selfish, have no regard for laid down procedures. You find someone like Victor Giadom laying claim to the leadership or to the chairmanship of the party. No matter what judgments you've been given by a court of law, the constitution of your party should be supreme. There is no means, if Victor Giadom has ever read the constitution of his party, there is no way by which a deputy secretary of the party can rise to the position of the chairman in acting capacity. The constitution is clear. The North and the South have deputy chairman. Deputy chairman South, deputy chairman North. Where the chairman is incapacitated or is incapable of continuing to function, as we have seen in the case of Oshomole now, has been forced to abdicate. The deputy chairman South, that is the zone that it comes from, will be the one to step into that position. And that's how Senator Ishaq Abiola Ajimobi was made the acting national chairman. Now, that's not all. These 6 geopolitical zones also have vice chairmen. Vice chairman Southwest, vice chairman Northwest, and so on and so forth. After the 2 deputy chairmen in the organogram, if I can call it that, of the party, the vice chairmen are next. Again, if those 2, if the deputy chairman South cannot function in that position.
So it falls
Then
on.
you go to the vice chairman
From that same zone.
south, which is Oshomole's geopolitical zone. That's how Hilliard Etta inherited that position, mandated by his colleagues to lead in the absence of Senator Abiola Ajimobi, who is ill at this time. So in the sequence that I explained, the deputy chairman of the deputy secretary of the party cannot just emerge out of the blues to lay claim to the chairmanship of the party. Forget about whatever judgment is brandishing. We know that we are in a mess as a country because people will go and meet judges and pile pressure on judges to give them all sorts of ex parte orders and the rest. And I know that even the NJC has said, look, we do not want these ex parte orders because it damages the reputation of the judiciary.
And a case as contentious as this.
Yes, but you find some of them, even some of the orders granted are even ridiculous. If you read the content of some of those orders, it's ridiculous. So I don't know, it just shows that, look, someone like Giadon, for example, is not interested in whether the APC survives or not. After all, we saw what happened in Rivers. The bickering between Amechi and Magnus Abbey ensured that Rivers State, that APC could not field a candidate. And we can see clearly that even now, they have not changed because that's what they are trying, through Giadon, who comes from that area, that is what they are trying to export to the national scene. And it's shameful because you can't rise to that position. The Constitution does not permit you to get there. And the Constitution, he also said that he had cancelled the screening exercise in Edo State.
In the case of Governor Obaseki.
Yes. The Constitution of the party does not permit the chairman of the party to overrule the NWC. The chairman has not got that power, assuming that he has even become the chairman. You do not have the power.
He couldn't have even invalidated the exercise.
Yes, he has no such power. The chairman of the party does not have that kind of power.
So the Constitution is clear, and we've seen courts, always validating the powers of the party. In this case, now internal politics, many judges, are always wants to, follow, go that side. Mojeed Damiu, is this matter as simple as have been laid out for you? Is it that way for you too?
Yeah, on paper, yes, the party has a constitution, has an organogram, like Judy explained, has succession plans. It envisages that there are situations where the chairman can be rendered incapacitated, like we have seen in the case of Oshiomhole, who, through an act of levity or what have you, failed to challenge his suspension at the ward level. And now the court has upheld that decision. Now is out. The party constitution says that when the chairman is out, the deputy chairman, which is Abiola Ajimobi, like Jide said, takes over. But unfortunately, too, the APC found itself in a position where Ajimobi is also ailing, and they still have to go to the zone where the national chairman comes from, which is where Hilliard Etta took over. And I think they were smart enough in the Rivers, in the South. Yesterday, there was a motion where they all moved to remove Giadon and replace them with Wagu bombs, because they felt that his activities are untoward. But be that as it may, what we are seeing today is a manifestation of, and not just APC alone, we have seen it happening in PDP. It shows that most of these politicians, they are only after their own personal interest, because the crisis in Edo State, which snowballed to the national now, if it had been I mean, nipped in the bud, we won't have a situation. I mean, look at those days, for example, Obaseki, sitting governor, used to be APC, now almost likely to fly the flag of the PDP, while Ize PDP, I mean, opposing parties, because of the ambition of it. I mean, you have a leader of a party who feels that, I mean, he has his all in all, and you have a governor who is not willing to budge. And they have taken that to the national level, where a Victor Giadom, a deputy secretary, will want to assume the position of the chairman of the party, laying claim to one frivolous court order, an ex parte motion, which only lasts for 14 days, and to think that a court will now revalidate that ex parte motion. This is the first time I'm hearing that.
Indeed.
That an ex parte motion that was issued in March, which lasted only 14 days, is being revalidated again in June. I mean, it calls to question the position of our, it calls to question the position of our judiciary in trying to help Nigerians entrench democracy. You see, when we talk of our democratic setting, we talk about the judiciary, the legislation, and the executive. And as long as the judiciary continues to give this kind of orders that are confusing, then, I mean, we have not really moved forward.
All right.
Now,
Majid, I'm afraid, and I'm sorry for butting in, but kindly let us also try to explore, other dimensions in this whole scenario while we are still on this subject. As you both know, so governors from the party are also courting the president now, asking him to intervene. Yes. But the president has also said through his aides now that he is a Democrat. He's not unmindful of all the drama, all the bickering in the party, but he would like to hear all sides before coming to a conclusion. What do you think should be done? What do you think the president, how do you view the president's intervention so far?
Oh, let's first admit that it is not as if the president has not intervened at all. When this Oshomole-Obaseki matter began to really degenerate, the president moved to get them to resolve the matter. He set up reconciliation teams 2 times. Obaseki said he did not want the first committee, that it was his enemies that they put in the committee. They changed the leadership. They removed Senate President Lawan, put Baba Konde there. In spite of that, no real gain was made in terms of resolving both men, because some of the actions of the governor showed clearly that he did not even want a resolution of the matter. And I was told, and in fact, Chief Hilliard said this last week on our program, that there was a meeting that was called by his fellow governors, and he stayed away. His style was always to stay away so that this matter will not be resolved.
While still maintaining his own stance.
Yes, so that this matter will not be resolved. I said it from the beginning that they will not be able to resolve the matter, because I could see clearly that, yes, while Oshomole, we all know that Oshomole is stubborn, but Obaseki made up his mind that there will be no resolution. It was clear in his actions that he was not interested in a resolution of the matter. So the president did make moves in the beginning. Now, in this case, the governors went to him. The governors that went to him are governors who had all along been opposed to Oshomole. From the first day, they've been opposed to Oshomole. The governor of Jigawa State, the one with the funny beard, Governor Lalong, then Atiku Bagudu. These are not Oshomole supporters. They are among the 7 governors who support.
So that is an established bias.
Yes. I'm not surprised that the president said, I would like to listen to other people before I decide on the right course of action, because they have gone to him seeking to push the president to agree to a NEC meeting of the APC at this time. A NEC meeting of the APC, you are going to have no less than 50 persons in attendance. And I doubt if you can use Zoom to do that kind of meeting, given the intensity of the crisis at hand. So, will it not be in contravention of the protocols of the COVID-19 protocols to have so many people? All of the governors will be in attendance. They are natural members of NEC. The president is deputy. Former ESCO members of the party, they are all members of ESCO. The National Assembly, each of the zones will contribute an individual. Then the House of Reps, I think 3 persons each. So it is an expanded decision-making organ of the party. But the huge number may make the president slow down in deciding whether that's the best thing to do at this time. But it is clear that that is what those governors want. There are some of them too who want the NWC to be dissolved in favor of a caretaker committee. So the president would then ask himself that, what action can I take that will not appear to support a particular group? Because if you dissolve the NWC, although the president has not even got that power to dissolve the NWC, at the NEC meeting, maybe that kind of decision may ultimately happen. No one knows. But the president is being careful about the best move to support on his part, because he's a party man, like you know. He's being careful so that it doesn't appear to support this tendency within the party that wants Oshiomhole to be removed at all costs. They will do whatever it takes, even if it means working for the PDP, just to undermine their own party. They've done it before. We've seen in this APC, we've seen people voting for the opposition. It happened in Adamawa, it happened in Ondo, you know, it happened in Bauchi. We've seen members of the party going to work directly for the opposition to undermine their own party. A serious party shouldn't be allowing that to happen. And when you have such individuals in the party, you have to show them the door. Don't give them the sliding door treatment. When you give them the sliding door treatment, you are telling them that, oh, they are welcome home. No, you have to show that no serious party allows that kind of aberrant behavior where you now use the resources of your party to work against your own party. It shouldn't be happening. And
that was what Comrade Oshiomhole was also, you know, trying to enforce in the party, which also didn't sit well with certain stakeholders, Mojid. So with what this governors, this category of governors, with what they are saying now, and if you look at the latest now coming from the Oshiomhole suspension, while the word says it has lifted this suspension, you know, paving the way perhaps for his soon return. Now, another section or another faction is saying that suspension still stands.
Well, like I said earlier, Oshiomhole took things for granted by allowing his word to suspend him, which is what some people are holding to by using the courts to validate that. And that is why he has ceased to be chairman, at least for now. And also, let us also bear in mind that sources very close to the party hierarchy told me that when the first crisis happened, part of the resolution then, why Oshiomhole was allowed to come back, was that they had a gentleman's agreement that the two governors that are sitting governors, Edo and Ondo, will be given the right of first refusal by allowing them to take part in the elections, which is scheduled for, I think, September and October in Edo and Ondo, respectively. But as soon as Oshiomhole took over, it was gathered. I mean, you can imagine the screening And then I heard that some of the governors were not happy that a sitting governor could be messed up like that. And even Wiki of PDP cast aspersions at the governors forum by saying that they have become a toothless bulldog. So now I think that reinforced the decision by some of the aggrieved members of the party. Of course, you can't take away the fact that governors are very, very strong neck members of the party. And I think they pressurized some of the NWC members who also hails from some of these states to, go to court again and effect another decision at the appeal court, which was already hanging before. They just pressed the trigger by getting the appellate court to uphold the suspension of Oshiomhole again. So, and from the look of things, I think for Oshiomhole, he ought to have played a fatherly role in this matter, and not the role of a labor leader. When you assume certain positions, like Jide said, it's very stubborn. But then, if you should allow Nigerians to put that blame, to keep the blame on Obaseki, and put your cast. Now, the same Obaseki that was screened out of APC is likely to run on the ticket of a PDP. With which credentials? The same credentials that APC, or rather the screening committee, claimed were fake or not genuine.
Okay, Mojid, I like the direction you are taking now, but then we also have to take an urgent break. We'll get to that point now while we're still of the APC and the several crises rocking the party. Of course, just yesterday, the primaries for the Edo governorship election, for the person who will flag that, who will be the flag bearer now, was held yesterday. And of course, we know that Osage Yamo emerged winner. And he said, I know you remember, BKO, that he hopes and he believes that his coming in, his being established as the flag bearer now would end the crisis in the party. But would it be as simple as that for you, seeing as there are still, several issues yet unresolved?
Some of the issues, you see, there are people who are in the APC who are stoking the embers of crisis in the PDP. There are people who are in the PDP who are also causing trouble, instigating even legal actions in the APC. You understand? So I'm not surprised that decision, that statement credited to the chairman of the party in Edo State, saying the Oshiomhole's suspension had not been lifted. Oshiomhole was suspended by the minority. He had greater support amongst the ESCO of that ward. But unfortunately, his lawyers did not even plead that issue before the court, and it's one of the fundamental mistakes that they made. Now they've gone back to say, okay, since these people have left, those of us who are
left,
because those guys, they've gone with the governor, those of them who are left, let us decide to have him back. And the Constitution allows them by a simple majority to take that kind of decision. That is what they have done. But the chairman of that faction that is loyal to Obaseki said, no, that has not happened. They are likely to even remain there with the purpose of frustrating Oshiomhole and making life difficult for him in the APC, whereas their heart has left the APC. Politicians do this a lot. Sometimes they use their agents to foment trouble in a rival party. They do that a lot. So I'm not surprised that this is happening. I can tell you that in both parties, some of the crises that we are seeing, the litigations that are happening, are actually being instigated by people from outside.
Even left.
by people from who are outside the party to make life difficult for their potential opponents as a way of gaining advantage over the opponent. So these things will happen. But the way things are now, the party must do its best to come together. You can't go into a contest as a divided house. We can see what has happened even in Ondo State, where the deputy governor too has defected to the PDP. So APC has lost Edo to the PDP now, and then the deputy governor too has left for the PDP. It doesn't augur well at all. So they've got to put their house in order, find a way to resolve these lingering issues so that they can go into the election with single-mindedness.
How does the party remain focused on all of this? You know, BKO was saying, and of course we've seen that, you know, also happening here. So how does the party just, you know, stay focused, ignoring the contention out there, ignoring the confusion, whether it is, you know, deliberate in a bid, you know, to scatter the party and its agenda for this crucial mission now that it has, talking about the Edo and the Ondo elections?
It's a very tough one for the APC. I mean, and it's rather unfortunate that they have been unable to manage the success, their successes at the 2015 and 2019 polls. One would have expected the party to consolidate rather as soon hardly had they won the 2019 elections that they started, some of their leaders started jostling for 2023. And when you have that kind of situation and you see people plotting for their own personal gains, then this is some of the results we are seeing. And if the party is not careful, it might lose Edo State and find it difficult to win in Ondo. Because of the selfish ambition of a few, just like Gide said earlier, how can a deputy secretary, an assistant secretary, be aiming to, you want to jump 4 positions and become the acting chairman? Who does that? If not for personal ambition. And he is being sponsored by some people from the party. And where I expect the president to come in earlier, because they look at his body language, where the president will say we should allow democracy to foster. But then some people will say they are studying the president's language, and they will know that the president will not talk until things really get to a head. And things will have gone really bad. Like Obaseki ought not to have left the party in the first instance. So it is going to be very, very difficult, although almost a similar thing is happening in PDP too. In the case of Edo, some people are aggrieved that somebody is coming fresh and is being almost handed the ticket or is being given a waiver. So it's not all that rosy in PDP too. So you see, like Gide said, some people will stay in APC and be throwing stones into PDP, while some people will stay in PDP and be throwing stones into APC.
Absolutely. So, reports have even talked about Governor Obaseki's strategies in the APC. But still on the subject of Godwin Obaseki now, who is the governor of Edo State. Gentlemen, you are mindful of the court happenings, you know, today, Federal High Court in Port Harcourt refusing to bar Godwin Obaseki. Now, this was against the earlier reports circulating that he had indeed been banned now from participating in the PDP primaries.
Yes, I think that the newspapers generally were wrong-footed to believe that the judge, E.A. Obile, granted an order barring Governor Obaseki from participating in the primaries of the PDP. The judge did not give the order. The judge gave order for substituted service, which is the ideal thing to do. And he also gave an order for accelerated hearing.
So it would have been an ex
And
parte
he told
motion.
them to come back.
If he had actually granted it, it would have been an ex parte order without hearing the other side.
Yeah. He told them to come back on the 24th for hearing of the matter. All he was interested in was for all of these guys, the respondents, to be served,
Absolutely.
properly served, so that they can have their day in court. And then he's prepared to expedite hearing on that matter and probably make his decision known. So it's Omorege Ogbeide Ihama was one who went to court.
Absolutely.
And said, look, the governor of Edo State should not be allowed to take part in this exercise because he was not there when we were buying forms, that only those who started from the beginning with them, who bought forms with them and all that, should be part of that exercise, that it amounts to injustice. Is saying that the party should have stuck to the stipulated time.
And not out of time, allowing
yes, but the party
the governor to
decided to exercise its power to grant waiver. And APC did this in 2014, December 2014. Many of the governors of APC were in the PDP.
Another party, indeed.
You know, there were the people like Atiku Bagudu was in the PDP. He came back from the US, joined the PDP, they got into the Senate, and then he contested. Samuel Otom was in the PDP.
So it's not a foreign...
Just a matter of a few hours.
So it's not foreign at all.
No. So what the APC amended their constitution to allow people, even if you join the party today, to be able to contest, knowing that those people coming were very strong, knowing that those people coming in could win the election for them. So they decided to bring them on board. They contested and won. So this is what, this is not the first time that this is happening. You can't have an opportunity to sign on a player like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, who is described as the Valentino Rossi of football, and say, no, you would rather brush aside that opportunity and get an artisan who cannot play good football. So this is an opportunity. They can see that with a governor, a sitting governor, with the resources at his disposal and everything, that he confers on the PDP
Absolutely.
the advantage. That's why they've gone ahead to give him that waiver. And by the same token, the APC too, knowing that Pastor Osage Iyamu is a grassroots politician, the greatest grassroots politician in Edo State currently. He has lived all his life, except when he came to Lagos to attend law school. All his life had been in Benin. He had never walked outside of Benin. So, and he had been consistent in winning elections in his senatorial zone. So they felt that this is the kind of person who can win an election for them. So they went for him and also granted him waiver. So the two parties have granted waivers to their new catches, if I can call them their new brides. So there's nothing wrong about this. I won't even be surprised, even if this kind of order was granted, another court would most likely set it aside.
Absolutely.
But that's not what has happened.
But I want Mojid, please, to give your final words on this. Now, it still comes down to, the larger party interest as against, individual interest, as we see play out in the case of Ogbeide Ihama.
A party would want to win elections at all costs, and as having a sitting governor flying your ticket, it's a big boost. And that's why the National Working Committee, the NWC of the PDP, granted that waiver to Godwin Obaseki. They had to even postpone the primary. They have to shift it to accommodate him so that he can fulfill all righteousness. So for Omerege Ogbeide Ihama, who is also an aspirant, is also a lawmaker, is a serving federal lawmaker.
Mojo Jamiu, okay, I'm afraid it seems like we just lost connection.
Even in court.
Okay, he's back.
Because like...
Carry on, please, carry on.
Yeah, so like Jide said, I doubt if it's a battle you can win in court because it has happened severally. I mean, we have seen governors defecting from one party to the other. Tambuwal did it in Sokoto too, from APC to PDP, and from PDP back to from PDP to APC, and from APC to PDP. The same thing. Samuel Otom is the latest. So, I mean, waivers are granted. There are provisions for that in the party, but like I said, the Edo election will be a very, very tough one because you have several deep-rooted interests from both parties.
Indeed.
And several disgruntled elements in both parties.
Indeed.
So we have those who are in APC who want to do Ize Yamu in, and we have those who are in PDP who want to do Obaseki in. So it's going to be a 50-50 chance.
Mojo Jamiu, let's shift focus now, talking diplomatic relations, where we see tensions, brewing between Nigeria and Ghana. Efforts are, also ongoing to avoid escalation. This stemmed from a demolition of an apartment at the residence of the Nigerian High Commissioner to Ghana in the capital, Accra. This by bulldozers, and it occurred in the early hours of Sunday. Though the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Ghana has apologized over the incident, the federal government of Nigeria has summoned the Ghanaian envoy over the demolition. BKO, so is this apology enough? Of course, the story, or this story, develops further. Mr. Geoffrey Onyama, was in Abuja. He went to answer questions from lawmakers still on this issue. The question is the apology from Ghana enough?
Well, I don't think it's enough. We have to get clear guarantees that this sort of nonsense will not happen again. The High Commission should have immunity, if I can use that word, immunity against any form of attack. The place should never be violated. If someone was being chased and he ran into that place, it becomes an haven.
Indeed.
It becomes an haven for that person. He gets all the protection. That is the norm. That is the tradition across the world. But if our High Commission can be so vulnerable that an individual will go in the dead of night and simply start demolishing, it means that one day they could just go there and kill Nigerians who are resident there. And that is the bit of this matter that worries me. The government of Ghana must give written guarantee that this sort of thing must not happen again. We can't be giant of Africa for nothing, and then some countries will be disrespecting us, treating us like a sweet wrap on the floor. No, it shouldn't be happening. Look at the South Africans the other day. You saw what they did. And we're in a position of strength to say, look, South Africa, we abhor the kind of nonsense that you do to our people. And for that reason, your companies here, we are going to nationalize your companies here. They will come here, they will beg. They will give all kinds of assurances that we will never be treated shabbily again. Because when people read about these things, when Nigerians read about these things, it sends the signal that, oh, this is a giant that is being trampled upon.
True.
This is a giant that is being disrespected. This is a giant that has lost its capacity to terrify or lost its respect in the international community. And that is not what we want to see. We want our country to remain great. We want people to continue to see Nigeria for the great country that it is, for the giant of Africa that it is. But small countries that are not even the size of Lagos State, which is Nigeria's smallest state, should not be treating us with disrespect. It has to stop.
Indeed, this matter is one of grave concern, and it has also, brought attention to what kind of relations indeed do Nigeria and Ghana have. Some have said it's of recent now it's more of rivalry rather than rather than brotherlyhood or brotherhood or brother or as good neighbors. So for you now, Ghana, we go back. Nigeria, Ghana go way back. So why the rivalry now? How do you read it?
Honestly, it's an unfortunate incident, and to think that the armed men, I mean, it's not as if they went there with cutlasses. They actually went there with a bulldozer to demolish one of the structures that is under construction. I mean, it's meant to serve as apartments for visiting diplomats and what have you. I mean, like Jide said, the Nigerian envoy in Ghana is like Nigerian soil there. You can imagine the American embassy in Lagos here. Imagine the kind of security before you get there. Even those who go there to protest, I mean, you see the kind of courtesy they are accorded with. So it calls to question, I mean, the kind of respect the Ghanaian government gives to Nigeria and the kind of diplomatic relations that exist between the two countries. So beyond a mere apology, we want an assurance that this kind of ugly incident will not repeat itself again. And I'm happy with the steps taken so far by the Nigerian government by summoning the chief of the affairs of Ghana, Ms. Iva Deno, to Abuja. I mean, yeah, you can see the building. A bulldozer goes into that place. So does an individual have that capacity? And for how long did that exercise last for? That is supposed to be a diplomatic environment. I mean, and that kind of person could not be stopped. And the armed bandits who led those who went on that demolition spree actually told them that they will come back and still unleash terror on the diplomats. And so I think the Ghanaian government should go beyond mere rhetorics by saying that they will investigate and give us a feedback. They should go beyond apology. We want to see somebody punished for this serious diplomatic infraction.
And some have even gone on, to suggest that, okay, Mr. Onyema could have been, more tougher or more assertive on this subject. Some have even gone ahead to say there should be the theory or the principle of reciprocity in this act, as we saw, play out in the South Africa saga. What do you think, BQ?
I think we should continue to play to our strengths as Nigerians. Nigeria as a country should continue to play to its strengths. The kind of treatment that these guys have meted out to us, they dare not do it to the Americans. I know that the Ga people of Accra, Ghana, the coastal areas of Accra, have always felt that the whole of the area belongs to them, and that the government of that country cheated them to their land. When America acquired that place some years back, they were not happy. But they didn't have the guts to go and pull down the American building. Because if you try that, the guards there will most likely open fire on you. But it's our country that has been disrespected in this way. I can bet that those guys would never have gone to an American, the American High Commission to do the sort of nonsense that they have done. Everyone just thinks that, Nigeria's day in the sun had gone, that they can now disrespect Nigeria. That's what people think, and it has to stop. It really has to stop.
Indeed. Well, gentlemen, Mojeed Jamiu and Babajide Kolade Otitoju here with me in the studio. I must thank you both for your contributions on the program. Mojeed, even though you haven't been here with us physically, thank you for your contributions.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you for joining us at this time. That's Journalists Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program, and watch Journalists Hangout also on other platforms showing on the screen. YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Remember, our feedback channel is Journalists Hangout at tvcnews.tv. Kemi Foladeyemo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.